Welcome to Eat, Sleep, Wine, Repeat, a podcast for all you wine lovers who, if you're like me, just cannot get enough of the good stuff. I'm Janina, your host, brand ambassador, wine educator, and sommelier. So stick with me as we dive deeper into this ever-evolving, wonderful world of wine. And wherever you are listening to this, cheers to you. Hello, wine friends, and welcome back to another episode where today we are exploring the wines of Valais. This is a region that is a living library of indigenous grape varieties. And you are going to discover which Valais grapes you absolutely need on your list, why this small Swiss region has one of the highest concentrations of native varieties in the world, and how its unique geography, the Alps, high altitudes, natural isolation allowed these varieties to survive and evolve and thrive over centuries. Now, Valais' combination of climate, terrain, and history has crafted wines with a personality of their own, and get ready to have your mind blown because this region produces some of the world's best Syrahs, and my guest today is going to prove to you exactly why. I am thrilled to welcome José Vouillamoz, one of the world's leading authorities on grape origins and parentage through DNA profiling. José trained with Professor Carol Meredith at UC Davis, co-authored the multi-award-winning reference book Wine Grapes with Jancis Robinson and Julia Harding, and has written essential works on Swiss and international varieties like Swiss Grapes. I have this book, we'll be talking about it throughout the podcast, and many others. He's contributed to the Oxford Companion to Wine and the World Atlas of Wine. This is a phenomenal conversation, and José is brilliant to listen to. So make sure you stick around until the end of the episode, because he is also sharing his insider tips on what to see and what to do in Valais. Now, I absolutely love this conversation, and I hope by the end that you are as inspired as I am to explore Valais or hunt down its incredible wines wherever you are. So settle in, pour yourself a glass, and enjoy the episode. José, I know very little about Swiss wine. I would love for you, as we're going to focus on Valais wine today, give everyone listening and me the coolest fact you can think of, something mind-blowing that we as wine lovers would not have even realized about the Valais wine region.
Well, the coolest fact.
I mean, no pressure here.
No, the coolest fact is related to my birthplace, my hometown, my home village.
Okay. Right.
The name of the village is Païen.
Mm-hmm.
In this village, a famous guy called Farinet, who was producing fake coins, fake money, at the end of the 19th century, was killed.
Okay.
And
we love a murder story. I love this.
Yeah, murdered by the
criminal
police.
Activity.
Murdered by the police.
Uh-huh.
And during the 20th century, a group of people led by journalists gathered to create the Friends of Farinet, Amis de Farinet. And they had brilliant ideas. One of those was to create the smallest vineyard in the world.
Okay.
And they have registered it officially. It is in the Guinness World Book of Records.
Like this.
It is 1.68 square meters, which is not by chance, which is the golden ratio, 1.618 to be precise.
Yeah. You don't get any details wrong. We need absolute precision.
1.6.8 square meters, three vines making a triangle. And this vineyard used to belong to Abbé Pierre from France, a famous priest from France. And in 1999, he handed it over to the Dalai Lama. And the Dalai Lama is still the owner of this vineyard today. This vineyard is magical because out of 3 vines, they make 1,000 bottles each year, of course, adding grapes from here and there. And they sell the bottles at auctions for charity, especially for children in need.
Do you know what? I actually did know that. I had completely forgotten. No, I did. I've done a podcast. Everybody, I'm going to link it back on the most unique, crazy vineyards in the world, like the most northern, the most southern, the highest, the smallest. And I'm saying it out loud now. I'm pretty sure I put it in there. Anyway, but that is actually so cool. Okay, you won. Okay, well done. We can carry on the conversation. Okay. Let's talk about something that I found really unique when we started discussing the Valais wine region, which is from a DNA perspective. This area is incredibly unique if we compare it to other European wine regions. So, I mean, shall we talk about these grapes that genetically can't be found anywhere else?
Yes, Valais is home to, as far as I have counted recently, 19 indigenous grape varieties, and most of them are not planted elsewhere. There are some indigenous varieties like Arvine or Petit Arvine that some wine lovers have heard of, or Cornalin, lesser known Amigne, but you have already heard about that. And there are some...
In your book.
Yeah, there are some weird stuff with strange names pronounced with the German accent, because part of the Valais is German speaking. You can think of Lafnecha, Himbacha, stuff like that. Most of them, only a few producers are making wine out of it. And even in Valais, nobody has ever tasted them. So it's really treasure trove of ancient, forgotten grape varieties that have survived in Valais.
And actually, so we'll touch on your book a little bit later. There you go, everyone. Some conversation coming up. But in your book, you say that there are 252 grapes in Switzerland. I think 80 of them are indigenous over the whole area. I mean, and Valais has this huge concentration. It's the most concentrated wine region for these indigenous grape varieties. Am I correct? Did I read that correctly?
Yes, but that was the situation in the book you have.
Yes.
I'm preparing.
Is it all changed?
Yes, it has. It has. I'm preparing an English version of the recent new edition of this book. It's already out in French. Last September it was out. I'm preparing for this spring in English, and I made the count again. And today, overall, Switzerland is around a bit less than 15,000 hectares. 15,000 hectares to correspond to Alsace, more or less. In Alsace, they grow 10 grape varieties. In Switzerland, today, 320.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
Wow.
Absolutely crazy. It's too much. But this is the diversity of Switzerland. And in Valais, we have a lot of different grape varieties. And the last count amounted to 19 indigenous grape varieties that are cultivated by a few producers. So why Valais has more indigenous varieties than other regions?
Yeah.
I think that Valais has been for a long time isolated in the mountain. It's intra-alpine valley with continental climate. It is bordered by mountains, and the connections with other regions was not easy back then. So for a long time, they were self-sufficient for centuries, and they were poor, and they have managed to have their own agriculture, viticulture. So the grape varieties appeared or were maintained by these people without connection with the outside world, let's say, until the mid-19th century. The railway system reached the Central Valley in 1860, and this changed completely the game, because since then, Valais wine production was able to be exported abroad being the rest of Switzerland.
Yeah. Yeah, quote unquote. So isolation has had a massive impact on, obviously, I guess, the history and having so much of these indigenous grapes. For somebody who doesn't know, where is Valais?
and you've talked about the Alps. Can you just give us a bit more of an overview of, I guess, the landscape and what it's like to be in this wine region if someone wanted to come and visit?
So first of all, Valais is in the middle of the Alps. It's not far from big cities that everybody knows. It's 2 hours from Milano, 3 hours from Zurich, not far from Burgundy, not far from Barolo for people who wants to visit other wine regions. So in the middle of this, you can visit Valais with its snowy mountains. Snowy mountains are visible from the vineyards that create a breathtaking landscape. We have spectacular dry stone walls built in terraces with steep slopes. This is what I call heroic viticulture, because it is really demanding to cultivate in this area. If you want to have an idea, in the steep slopes near Sion, where I live, everything is done by hand, and it takes 2,000 hours per hectare per year to work. 2,000 hours per hectare per year. In comparison, Bordeaux average is 300.
It's shocking. That is really that number.
Languedoc, where everything is mechanized, 150. Argentina, Chile, below 100. So we are 10 times more expensive in terms of hours to work the vineyards. On top of it, the salaries are higher. The land is more expensive. Everything is more expensive. So I like to say that Valais wines are not expensive. If you want,
for what they are.
If you want cheap bulk wine, okay, don't go for Valais. You won't get it. If you want good quality wine with an average price that is justified, go for Valais or Swiss wines. And if you want super good international quality wines that are cheap, go to Valais.
Perfect. Everyone listening, come to Valais. Well, okay. You've described it beautifully in terms of all the other places that we could go together, create a massive wine trip, the beauty of the place. And you've touched on these indigenous grape varieties, which most people are probably saying right now, what are they? So where should we start if we are thinking about indigenous varieties? Is it Petit Arvine?
I must say yes.
Yeah, okay.
I call it Arvine. Arvine is the original name. It was named Petit Arvine later on. It's a synonym. It's the easiest way because everybody is in love with Arvine or Petit Arvine. It's everybody's darling because it's quite powerful in aromas. It has typical aromas that are recognizable. It is full-bodied, intense, and really easy to understand. So everybody is like, wow, I love Petit Arvine. It's much easier to introduce Valais wines or Swiss wines with Petit Arvine than any other indigenous grape variety.
I think you described in your book citrus and rhubarb with salinity and voluptuous structure. I mean, come on, who would not want to try this grape variety?
Yeah, absolutely. It has this rhubarb or cooked rhubarb, rhubarb pie, I would say, grapefruit, and also sometimes some quince aromas, especially when it's done in a desert-style wine, because Arvine is quite interesting in late harvest desert wines, revealing quince, saffron aromas. And also it has a typical salty finish very often, which makes it very special.
Well, see, now I was also reading, which was a very cool fact that I didn't know about, Angelo Gaja, who, for anyone who's listening, super, super famous for Barolos, or actually Barbarescos, and he planted this grape variety in Piemonte, but actually it completely failed. But that's pretty cool. Somebody so iconic, obviously thinking, let's give this a go. Let's bring it just across slightly and see how it works. But it did not work well.
Yeah, I talked about that with Angelo, whom I know since more than 20 years, and he told me in Italian, un disastro.
That does not need to be translated. I think that's pretty clear.
Because Arvine, the branches of Arvine are really sensitive to wind and they can break easily. And in the Langhe region, There are some strong winds in spring, and the Arvine was breaking, and the ripeness was not correct. It was retaining too much acidity and too much bitterness, and he was never happy with the result. He never released any single bottle out of it. Other people have tried. In France, there are a few plantings of Arvine. I know a few plantings in the US. I recall, I think, in Oregon.
Okay.
But I would say that Arvine is one of those grapes that do not travel well. The only other place where it can, in my opinion, give good results is in Aosta Valley, which is our neighboring valley, very similar in climate and in terroir as Valais. But elsewhere, I don't think that it travels very well.
Well, it means that it makes it a little bit more special to try this grape variety in Valais. And you've already touched on the fact that you call it Arvine, but now a lot of people call it Petit Arvine because, if I'm right, it's to kind of not confuse it with Gross Arvine.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if you don't like the term Gross Arvine, it can be confusing in English.
Yeah. It's not gross, I'm sure.
No, but it doesn't matter because it's the official empelographic name. Some people say Grande Arvine, Great Arvine.
Okay.
Which is a synonym.
Yeah, okay.
But anyway,
Right.
this Gross Arvine appeared in the 19th century. It's probably a child of a very old grape variety called Rèze, as far as I know, with DNA profiling studies that I carried out a few years ago. And when this Gross Arvine came on the scene, to differentiate it from the other one, we called the other one Petit Arvine. But before the 19th century, we called it only Arvine.
And I presume are wineries actually labeling Petit Arvine as Arvine sometimes still? Or now everybody, just for people to look for the label, will it always be Petit Arvine now?
No, you can find both.
Okay.
You can find both.
All right, fine.
And some producers writing on the Arvine tell me that some customers ask, okay, you have Arvine, but do you also have Petit Arvine?
Well, precisely. So everybody listening, Arvine, Petit Arvine, the same.
Yeah.
And in fact, Gross Arvine, is this even planted much anymore? Are you
It
likely
is.
even? Okay. So are you as likely to see Gross Arvine as you are to see Petit Arvine?
No, absolutely not. If you're not actively seeking for Gross Arvine, you won't find it. There are only two producers at the moment.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
One is Olivier Pittet, who did a fantastic work of rescuing Gross Arvine from ancient vineyards since the years 2008, something like that. I helped him a lot with identifying the vines with DNA profiling. And he's producing a small quantity that you could buy at his winery, but it's a tiny boutique winery. And the other one is Benoît d'Orsat, who only made a few hundred bottles to share with friends. Nothing was sold. But as of last year, Benoît d'Orsat sold his winery to a very famous French woman called Caroline Frey.
Oh, hang on, of the Jabelet family?
Yep.
Ah.
Yeah. And Caroline Frey, who has been making wine in Valais since more than 10 years, has completely abandoned any activity in France. So she's not in charge anymore for Jaboulet, Paul Jaboulet. She's not in charge for Château La Lagune in Bordeaux, not in charge for Cortoncé in Burgundy. She's dedicated to Valais, and I hope that in the near future, she will make her own Gross Arvine cuvée.
Interesting. So, okay, we talked about the rhubarb, the salinity, the voluptuousness of Petit Arvine or Arvine or Arvine.
Yeah.
What would you taste if you're having Gross Arvine?
Gross Arvine is different in aromatics. It is less powerful. It is more flowery. And especially it is a little bit, how could I say, grainy on the mouth. It has some slight tannins in the mouth that Arvine doesn't have. So it's quite an experience to compare the two. There might be a genetic link, maybe a second degree link that I need to still identify. Maybe that Arvine is the grandmother. This is my hypothesis there is something between them. It is not a surprise. It is not an accident that they called it Gross Arvine, but they are completely different in terms of wines.
Okay, interesting. Well, let's talk about another grape variety. Am I pronouncing this grape variety correctly? Armigne?
Yes, perfectly. Yeah.
Perfect. I think you said it already. So I guess this seems to be a grape variety that's quite misunderstood. Is this a grape variety that people should actively be searching out as well? What do you think?
Yes, surely it is a very interesting grape variety, and you should at least try it once in your life because it's a fantastic variety. I call it a chameleon variety because out of Amigne, you can make dry wines, medium sweet, sweet or late harvest wines. It is especially cultivated in one single village called Vétro, and the producers in this village had a brilliant idea. They agreed to put on the bottle, to put a sticker with 1, 2, or 3 bees on it.
Yes.
The bees representing the amount of residual sugar in the wine. So 1 bee is almost dry, 2 bees is medium dry, and 3 bees is sweet.
I love that. I mean, I read about it in your book. Thank God for this book. But at the same time, I need to Google it. I love the idea of using bees to define sweetness because I assume, like you said about Petit Arvine, that can be dry. It can also be sweet. They don't have something on the label as a ruling to tell you the sweetness, do they?
No. Well, first of all, for Amigne, all the producers are in the same village, most of them. So it was easy to find an agreement. For Arvine, you can find Arvine everywhere in Valais. And as you can imagine, it is very difficult to make everyone agree on one decision in any wine region of the world. And on top of it, it's true that in the 90s especially, there was a tendency to produce Arvine with a lot of residual sugar. And this tendency was giving wines that I found very heavy, lacking drinkability. And most of the people have stopped doing so. So they are either dry or late harvest.
Okay, interesting. Oh, I mean, there's so many great varieties that we can discuss. So where do we go now for people to have just a few more on the list? Is it fair to say that Heida and also known as Savagnin and Païen, this one grape variety that has lots of synonyms, is this also from Valais?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's not. The official name is Humagne Blanc. It has many synonyms. You mentioned Heida in Païen in Switzerland, but also Traminer.
Oh gosh, okay, yes, fine. So this is definitely not, but this is definitely not from
no,
Valais,
it's not.
But planted quite a bit.
It's quite historical. The oldest document mentioning this grape in Valais is dated 1586. So we've been cultivating these grapes since the Middle Ages.
Oh wow.
As far as we know, and as far as we can see from a genetic point of view, if you look at Humagne Blanc from Jura, the one that they use to make vin jaune, for example, and you look at Heida, it's the same grape variety. They have the same DNA profile, no question. But you can observe some differences. These are different, let's say, biotypes or different group of clones within the same variety. So different morphological differences and also organoleptical differences in taste and flavor. If you taste side by side a dry Heida from Valais and a dry Savagnin from Jura with houillage, which means it's been made like a regular wine, not oxidized style, they will be completely different, yet it's the same variety.
Are you able to potentially touch on that a little bit deeper in terms of what is there a characteristic of Heida from Valais that would allow you to maybe decide in a blind tasting that this is the Valais grape compared to Jura in France? Would you be looking for something? Or is it still quite difficult?
This is a dangerous road because you know I could compete in the world championship of failing at blind tasting.
Me too.
And I would probably win.
Okay, fine. Well, listen. Okay, so
Speaking about the failing.
Okay, no. I don't know. I might give you a run for your money, but everybody then go and do it yourself. Taste it and see the differences. We leave it for the listeners
No,
to go
it's surely difficult, but as you can imagine, Valais climate is completely different from Jura climate. Jura is more humid, colder. Valais is a climate with a lot of sunshine, southern exposure of vineyards. So Haida will be more powerful in aromas. It has flowery aromas of chamomile. It has linden leaves aromas. It has a very interesting acidity because of the elevation of vineyards. Jura is also lower in altitude. So this makes a difference. And Jura Savagnin would be more elegant, more fresh, but with less body. This is basically the differences, but I'm sure we can get confused easily by blind tasting.
Well, everyone, of course, because everyone is planting on their own specific site, and the altitude might be slightly different, and then the quality might affect that you might not get as much acidity in some winery in Valais, and then if you're comparing it's always, you have no idea the winemaking behind it. So yes, it's never easy. But hey, everybody, how fun! Why not try Savagnin? Okay, well, so we've mentioned actually four white grape varieties that are planted in Valais. Is there any other white grape varieties that people must put on their list if they are looking for a Valais wine?
Yes, it would be a bit more difficult to find them, but if you are in Valais, you can ask them at restaurants or wine bars. I'm thinking of the two most ancient grape varieties in Switzerland, which happen to come from Valais. One is Humagne Blanc.
I'm glad you mentioned that, but yes, please continue.
And the other one is Rèze. Both of them are white-berried grape varieties, and they were both mentioned in an ancient document written in the year 1313 on a parchment that I had one day in my hands. It's kept in the archives, and I could touch it and see it, that one guy in 1313 wrote a decision that one guy had to pay another guy every year a tax with ripe grapes of these varieties.
Wow.
That is fascinating, which means they didn't want anything else. They wanted these two. And these two were the most important grape varieties in Valais until the 19th century. And they have been completely superseded by recent plantings of Chasselas, of course, that we call Fendant, Sylvaner, that we call Johannisberg, and other white varieties that are easier to grow. And today, almost nothing is left. 29 hectares of Humagne Blanc, 5 hectares of Rèze.
Wow.
And they used to be the most important in the region.
So is it because are they hard to grow? Do they attract way more diseases? They have fungal issues? Is that kind of maybe why people have just given up on them?
They are completely different. Humagne Blanc is very productive, has big bunches. It's rather prone to fungal diseases, so it was easier to grow Chasselas instead. And Rèze has a problem with viruses. Many of the ancient vineyards were full of viruses. The bunches were small, so the yields were low. And the ancient people, the old generations, when they had to replant vineyards after phylloxera came to Valais in the early 20th century. When they had to replant the vineyards, they abandoned the old varieties and they planted newcomers instead.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you've mentioned Chasselas, and it's been mentioned a few times now, but the reason we're not focusing on this is that it is not actually indigenous to Valais, is it?
No, it's not. In my opinion, after a long research, combining historical knowledge and scientific knowledge, I can pretend to know that Chasselas, the origin of Chasselas, the cradle of Chasselas, is the Geneva Lake area called Lac Léman, Lemon Lake, Léman.
Okay.
This is between Geneva and Lausanne-Montreux on the Swiss side and Savoie, Haute Savoie on the other side. This is the region of origin of Chasselas, but it is also very important in Valais. It has been introduced in massively in 1849.
Gosh, that's a specific date. I love this.
Yes, because
with your
I found
facts.
the original document in the archives.
Okay.
So 1849, it was introduced massively to Valais from Vaud. And they gave it the Vaud name, which is Fendant. So Fendant was the name used by the people in Canton Vaud. Vaud people have abandoned the name and they use places name instead. And Valais people have kept the name. So Fendant today is only used in Valais.
Okay. Interesting. And we were having a conversation actually before we were recording this. So everybody, both José and myself separately, were in Wine Paris recently doing our things. And José was doing amazing masterclasses. But one thing that I missed out, and I am very upset, was that you told me that Chasselas or Fendant, there were some tastings there were back vintages that I could have tasted back to what year?
The oldest was a Chasselas from Vaud, des Alais, which is the most prestigious Grand Cru of Chasselas in Vaud, year 1996.
1996. And then you were touching on that this is so extraordinary because this is a grape variety that doesn't have that high acidity. And for anyone who wants to know one of the great structural components of a wine, what would suggest the wine can age is high acidity. And yet this seems to be, what were you saying? Possibly the only grape variety with its amount or lack of acidity that can age.
Yeah, I
right?
cannot think of another white grape variety with low acidity that can age so beautifully. And I like to say that this remains an analogical mystery. Nobody understands how and why this Chasselas can age so beautifully more than 30 or 40 years if the bottle is well kept. I've had some very old bottles and it transfigures completely the grape variety. Young, when it's drunk young, it is very fresh, flowery, elegant, and not very much full-bodied. When it ages, it gets aromas of honey, honeysuckle. It gains body, it gains oiliness in the mouth and length in aftertaste. It's absolutely amazing. A lot of Michelin star restaurants have understood that, and they are suggesting old Chasselas in their menu to pair with the gastronomical food.
Interesting. Well, everybody, when you go to Valais, look for Fendant. So then now you know this is Chasselas and see it for yourself and see as well how it pairs with some dishes. I want to touch on, I'm going to segue from white to red because you touched on Humagne Blanc. Am I saying it correctly again?
Perfectly.
Okay, Humagne Blanc. But people often think it's related to Humagne Rouge, which is now a red. And that seems to then lead us into a whole interesting, confusing situation on red naming terms for this grape variety. So I'd love to know, I mean, are they genetically connected, the white and the red? And then let's talk about Humagne Rouge, because that's a whole other story.
Yeah. As you said, it's confusing. I will try to explain it the most simplest way.
Okay.
So first of all, no, Humagne Rouge has nothing to do with Humagne Blanc, genetically speaking, and morphologically speaking as well. We don't really understand why it was called Humagne Rouge. Maybe because Humagne Blanc is very productive in terms of leaves and branches, and Humagne Rouge as well. Maybe it's the only link between the two. The morphology of growing. But Humagne Rouge has been known in Valais only since the beginning of the 20th century. We know today, thanks to DNA analysis, that it is identical to a grape variety that is still grown in Aosta Valley in Italy, our neighbors. Mm-hmm. And in this part of the Alps, it is called Cornalin. Mm-hmm. Okay. But Cornalin is a name that has been stolen by Valais people to give it to what they used to call Rouge du Pays. So Rouge du Pays means red of the land. They were thinking this is too general, and one of the responsible for viticulture wrote in 1972, okay, Rouge du Pays is not nice. We need to find another name. He just read a book about Aosta Valley grape. He said, there is this Aosta Valley grape called Cornalin. The name is nice. It has almost disappeared over there. Let's take it. Well, they did 50 years ago, a bit more than 50 years ago. So they stole the name. Now we have a weird situation. You have Valais producers. They make Cornalin. You go visit them, you try, they make red Cornalin. The official name that we should use in ampelography, at least, in scientific documents, the official name is the oldest name, which is Rouge du Pays. So they make Cornalin, and the name is Rouge du Pays. Then they make Humagne Rouge, and the name is Cornalin. Sorry for that.
Honestly, I know. Honestly, I actually, having already read your book and worked that out and took my time with it, as you explain it, that makes complete sense to me. But everybody, if that did not make sense, go back. You just need one more. Go back 5 minutes, re-listen to this. But it's fascinating. Now, are these two grape varieties, are they important to the region? Are they worth discovering? Or are there other reds in Valais that you think are better to try?
Well, of course, they are worth trying, especially what we call today Cornalin. What we call Cornalin, by the way, its original name, as I said, is Rouge du Pays. So let's talk about Rouge du Pays. By DNA profiling, I was able to find at least 5 or 6 natural children of this grape. Where did I find them? In Aosta Valley. So it is quite logical to think that Rouge du Pays was born in Aosta Valley, introduced to Valais centuries ago. We don't know when, because in many old historical documents, they would only mention the reds. We have harvested today the reds, and we don't know which one. Probably that Rouge du Pays was in there. And Rouge du Pays is a very difficult variety to grow. It is irregular in yields, irregular also in berry ripeness within the same bunch. It is sensitive towards the magnesium deficiency. So my opinion is that it did exist in Aosta Valley. Well, they already had a dozen of reds. So for this one, they said, oh, I don't want to lose my time with it. We will abandon it, what they did. But in the meantime, it had come to Valais where it was one of the only reds. So they kept it. So that's, in my opinion, that's why it has survived in Valais. So long story short, in good hands, with the good selection of the best clones and best vines of this variety, wines can be beautiful. You can have reds belonging to the best reds of Switzerland and maybe of the world for some of them. It has a typical character of black cherry, sometimes raspberry. It is dense with silky tannins, and especially there is a very pleasant bitterness, the bitterness of cherry stone on the finish in the mouth. So blackberries on the nose, cherry stone in the mouth. When you have it, usually it's an excellent example of Rouge du Pays, aka Cornalin.
Cornalin, okay. And then how about Humagne Rouge, aka the original real Cornalin? How would that taste?
Yeah, Humagne Rouge is lighter in body, lighter in color. By the way, it is, as I said, probably a natural child of Rouge du Pays. So Humagne Rouge is a love or hate variety because it's quite typical in its aromas. We often speak about the bark of oak tree. I like to speak about the dried vine leaves. When you are in a vineyard in autumn, right before the winter, and you walk on dried leaves, it has an aroma, and this is the one aroma that I identify in Humagne Rouge. It is less structured. Yeah. The tannins are a bit more rustic, but it is very pleasant, and it goes very well with venison.
Okay, thank you for that. Right. So, okay, we've got these two reds that if people want to try something a little different, great. I think, is it Syrah, I was reading, has actually become a bit of a star in Valais of the international varieties. Is this the red that's doing really well here?
Absolutely. It has become a star and justifiably.
Okay.
It was introduced to Valais in 1921 from Tain-l'Hermitage, which is in the northern part of the Rhône Valley and probably the place of origin of Syrah. Today in Valais, I mean, for a long period of time, only the guy who was responsible for the introduction, his name was Dr. Henri Vuillou, was interested in this grape. Nobody cared. Until the 1980s or early 90s, very few plantings of Syrah were observed in Valais. But since the 1990s, it has increased up to, I think, today 220 hectares, which is not much compared to Valais is a little bit less than 5,000. It's 4,600 something. So if you think of it, we have around 220 of Syrah, less than 200 for Rouge du Pays, Cornalin, and less than 150 for Humagne Rouge, Cornalin from Ulster Valley. So we are speaking about a minority of grape varieties. The vast majority for reds is Pinot and Gamay, which come from France. But back to Syrah, which also comes from France, there may be a few very old vineyards that are still planted with this selection, original selection from France.
Ah, interesting.
It would need to be better studied, but I have a few ideas of where to find the oldest vineyards that could come from this original planting. But most of the recent plantings were done by purchasing plant material from nurserymen, either in Switzerland or in France. So diverse origins for the plant material of Syrah, which means that it could not by itself explain why Valais Syrah are different. In my opinion, why Valais Syrah are different, and as I will tell you later, very often better. I'm not saying it out of patriotism, it's the truth.
It just is it? Okay.
Yeah. But you might have heard that for each grape variety, we can identify, at least for the moment, the northern limit for its cultivation. If you cultivate a grape variety above its northern limit of cultivation, it will never get ripe. And we have observed generally that this northern limit is very often the place where the wines are the better and the most balanced. And for Syrah, the northern limit is Valais.
Okay.
Which means this is the place where it produces Syrah with the typical spiciness, with a good acidity that keeps freshness. And the Syrahs are flavorful with a great drinkability. I can say that because I love them, but not only myself. There is a story about memorable tasting that took place in 2007, organized by Grand Jury Européen, gathering 15 of the best tasters, wine tasters in Europe. I was not among them, and I was not participating. They blind tasted 34 of the best and most expensive Syrahs in the world under blind tasting under a lawyer control. And the first 4 winning the game came from Valais.
That's ridiculous. Why is this not something that I know about? And why is this not something that the world knows about?
Yeah. This should be the newspaper every day.
Every day. Like, and you know what? It makes better news than all the other terrible doom and gloom out there. Let's just talk about how delicious Syrah is from Valais. Okay, I am ready to get on this bandwagon.
And the number 1, which is the domain is Simon Meil, and the wine is Syrah Vieille Vigne. And this is one of those that I suspect to be planted with the original introduction from 1921.
Okay. Everyone.
I talked to
let's get a bottle.
Current owner.
Yeah.
Yes, you should definitely try it. And with the tag price, honestly, when I was saying that Swiss wine, Valais wine is not expensive, in the same tasting, you had, well, I can name them. You had all the, not all, maybe, I think it was Gigal, La Mouline.
Wow.
All the vintage were 2001. They tasted in 2007 and vintage was 2001. They had Gigal, La Mouline. They had Astralis from Australia. They had Jamais from Côte Rôtie.
Wow, yeah.
They had all the best.
Big names, yeah.
And if you look at the prices, back then, the number one Swiss Syrah was 36 euros a bottle. The ones I talked about, the Gigal, 360.
Wow. Yeah.
Australis, 600. So come on.
You're saving money. I mean, although, by the way, of course, that wine that we're talking about now is definitely not 36 euros anymore, is it? But everyone go,
Not
just
far.
treat yourself.
Not far. I think it's up to 38 or 39 only.
Are you serious? Okay, everyone, there we go. Mind blown. This is the wine discovery. Gosh, okay. Syrah, tick. You've proven your point. We know that there's Pinot, there's Gamay around. Is there one more grape? Because we haven't got time to do a 2-hour podcast, and we certainly could with all these grape varieties. Is there one other grape that you haven't mentioned from Valais that everyone must try or must know about?
Well, it's difficult because of the scarcity of the availability for some wines. I would go back to Arvine. If you try only one, try Arvine. Okay. It's a safe bet.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. There we go, everyone. And I guess a good representative. Okay. In terms of people coming to Valais, is there a specific village, a terrace, a viewpoint that just captures the magic of the region that you must send people to?
If you speak only about vineyards, right?
I don't know. You listen, diversify the question if you want. If you want to take us somewhere, where do we need to see, do, feel, hold?
Okay. So whenever you come to Valais for a few days, there are at least 3 things you need to see, 3 or 4, let's say. First, you go to Zermatt, world famous ski resort. You take the Gorda Grat Bahn, which is a mountainous railway, a bit expensive as you can imagine, but you do it once in your life. Come on, and you go up for the view, spectacular view on the Matterhorn, Savagnin in French, which is one of the most famous and most beautiful mountains in the world. So you need to see that one day from Zermatt, which is also a very nice ski resort, free of cars, no motor cars over there, only small electric cars. Yeah, very quiet.
Amazing.
Then you can also go to another part of Valais to see the Aletsch Glacier. What is left of it, because it's sadly disappearing more and more. I remember seeing it as a child, and today it's bringing tears to the eyes to see the decrease of this glacier, but it's still there and it's still beautiful. And also in the place where I live, which is the capital city of Valais, is Sion, you have 2 hills with one beautiful castle, the remains of a castle, and one church, which is a basilica, in which you have the most ancient playable organon in the world.
Wow.
Yeah. And Sion is the oldest city of Switzerland because we have evidence of settlements dating back to 7,000 years BC. So a lot of historical stuff. And if you go, especially for vineyards, there is one single vineyard you cannot miss. On your way to Zermatt, it's the vineyard of Visperterminen. Visperterminen is a spectacular vineyard, terraced vineyard, cultivated by hundreds of families, amateur owners of vineyards, gathered in a cooperative called Sanctio dan Calerai. And the vineyards go from 650 meters to 1,100 meters of elevation. Absolutely spectacular. Mostly they grow Heida, which is Savagnin or Traminer there. And also for vineyards, close to Sion, where I live, you have the vineyards of Claveau, which is the name of the vineyard, that are extremely steep with dry stone walls. And I think you can find the highest stone walls probably in the world, almost up to 20 meters of dry stone wall for 20 meters of vineyard. It's completely crazy.
Okay, honestly, this is you are giving me so much more than I expected. This is brilliant. You've given me a perfect itinerary. I'm coming. I mean, okay, now as we slowly close up this episode, you've given us the grape varieties that we need to hunt down or the ones we need to try. We now know what to go and do, what vineyards to go to, and of course there's and so much more. What's the one food that we need to make sure we try when we're in Valais to go with these wines?
Of course. You need you need to try raclette.
I mean, I wondered if you were going to say that, but yes, good. It's good to know that that is the right thing to do.
But I'm speaking about the real raclette.
Oh. Okay,
not about the French raclette.
Okay.
Because French people, they have this tool that you put on the table, and you have these square plates. You put a piece of cheese in there, and you put it under the electric stuff and heat it and eat it. This is not raclette. We call it raclonnette, which means small. The real raclette is a round piece of cheese cut in half, and this half you put in front of an oven, electric or gas or even fire. And then you take a knife, and with the knife, you take down the melted cheese. And in French, this movement is called racler. Racler. So this is raclette. And you can eat it with potatoes, with some onions and pickles. It's absolutely beautiful. We make raclette all the time. There's no season for raclette. Winter, summer, spring, autumn. It's always time for raclette.
Perfect. And
the wine pairing best with raclette is obviously Fendant, always a good match. You can also try some lesser known varieties like Rèze or Humagne Blanc. I would not recommend Arvine. It's not pairing well with raclette, honestly.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So should we just drink that on its own, or do you have
before as aperitif?
An aperitif. Perfect.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. Thank you. Right. Thank you, José. Honestly, my mind is blown. So many cool facts, so many things that I didn't know that now I do. I've got this awesome book, Swiss Grapes, which you've written, and I am going to put a link, everybody. You can get it from Amazon, but you've just said that you're going to do a new up-to-date book as well. So when is that coming out?
I hope to have it been published in April.
Okay. All I can say, everybody listening, José is a fountain of knowledge. It's incredible, all of this DNA testing, how we're working out the history of grape varieties from all over the world. So everybody check out the show notes so that you can follow José and see what's going on and listen to so much content that you've put online. So thank you for taking us on this little small journey, a little dipping our toe just into the wine world of Valais. Really appreciate it, and you've got me very excited.
My pleasure.
And
you can follow me on social media for more exciting information about Swiss wines, Valais wines, and others.
100%. So thank you, and then we will meet for a glass of Arvine very, very shortly, very soon.
You're welcome to Valais anytime.
Yes, let's all go, everyone listening. Thank you, José. Until next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Janina. Thank you.
Oh, who wants to come to Valais with me? So many exciting grape varieties to try. Now, next week, we are heading back into the vineyards with Jamie Good, trained scientist, wine journalist, lecturer and author. He recently released his Science of Wine series on winemasters.tv. So we're going to be diving into grafted versus ungrafted vines, phylloxera, and the fascinating contrasts between old vines and new vines. And as always, a little inspiration to take with you, apparently said by the Dalai Lama himself, which seemed rather apt after discussing his ownership of the smallest vineyard in the world. Now, there isn't exact evidence that he said this, but it is widely attributed to him, and it is rather beautiful. So, the Dalai Lama apparently said, "Grapes must be crushed to make wine. Diamonds form under pressure. Olives are pressed to release oil. Seeds grow in darkness. Whenever you feel crushed, under pressure, pressed, or in darkness, you are in a powerful place of transformation." Well, a beautiful reminder, regardless, that challenges can create something extraordinary, just like the wines that we love. And if you are feeling the love and getting value out of these podcasts, you know that the best way to support this podcast is to leave a review, some stars, a rating, and subscribe, like, share with a fellow wine lover. And until next week, wine friends, cheers to you.